Welcome back to the channel, y'all. We're gonna be going back to 52 today. It's a beautiful day, beautiful sunset, but it's also Father's Day, which hits pretty close to home for me because my dad passed away about 2 years ago. It's actually what this tattoo is right here. So we're gonna be dedicating this session in honor of him. Hopefully he's looking over me today. I really hope I win money today, or at least not lose a lot of money, because it'd be a pretty shitty way to end this day. But yeah, my buddy Brian's already there. He's been there for the past like 3 hours. He already got stacked and then bought back in and then like 6x'd his money somehow. So we're gonna be going and buying at his table hopefully, and going in a little bit later time today, which you'll find a lot more action. So hopefully we can get some cool hands, interesting spots, big pots, the whole shebang. Let's get to it. We buy into the same table from last two sessions, but I didn't get here till 10:30. So at this point in the night, you get a lot more action and there's a lot deeper stacks. I buy in for $1,000 and I'm still covered by 4 other players who all have like 2,000 plus. Before I can even get my chip set up, first hand we get is Ace King offsuit. Welcome to the table, I guess. There's a button straddle, big blind calls, and under the gun +1 raises to 30. We're in under the gun +2, and I come in hot. I 3-bet to 95, folds back around to him, and he just flats. We're both deep stacked, and he seems like a solid understanding player. Flop comes out 10-10-3 rainbow, and he checks it to me. Pot's already 200, and with Ace King on a paired board here, I'm already beating a lot of hands, and I won't get too much value from worse hands. If I was 3-betting light with say a suited connector or any type of hand that doesn't have a lot of showdown value, I'll definitely start putting money in now to fold out a lot of his range. He does have a lot of pocket pairs that will love this board here, so I check it back. Turn is an ace of diamonds, and he checks it to me again. Now, I pretty much have this hand locked down, and I feel I won't be able to get 2 streets of value in this spot because a majority of hands in his range hate this card, and if he did pair up with the ace, then it'll be easy to get some more value on the river. So I check it back pretty quick, almost as if I hate the card. These are very aware players I'm playing against, so it's important that when I'm telling a story with my actions that I get it right. If I took longer, say like 15-20 more seconds and then checked it back, it may look like I was trying to decide whether or not to value bet, so I made sure to check it back quick. River is a 6 of hearts and he checks it again. Now it's just a question of sizing. My line already doesn't make a lot of sense from checking a paired board after 3-betting to checking back that ace pretty quick. So I want to choose a sizing that doesn't really add up with my actions. I've under-repped my hand here, so I don't want to go too tiny and lose out on more value. I've taken this line as a way to get thin value, so I consider sizing up to like 150, 175, but that seems too big for a weak hand, such as one he's represented. So I land on a half pot bet, which in this spot looks like that because he's represented such a weak hand, that I'm just trying to take it down, but that my hand's weak and I don't want to polarize. He thinks for a bit and makes the call. We show the table Ace King and he mucks. This is literally the first hand I got after sitting down late at night at a very deep thinky table. So I'm glad everyone got to see that I was strong and that I took an abnormal line. I haven't played with a lot of players at this table yet, so I want to make sure to develop a strong image. We start the session up $200 as we look down at Queen Jack of Spades and the low jack. Under the gun +2 opens up to 15, and this is almost always a snap 3-bet for me. But I don't want to be too aggressive at this table, and I want to have a lot more merit behind my 3-bets. This is a very actiony table, and we're in middle position, so playing post-flop with this exact hand probably plays better as just a call. I'll be able to realize my equity more in smaller pots, as I won't be facing as large bets as I would in 3-bet pots. So I call, and the small blind, big blind, and under the gun call as well. 5-way to a flop of Queen 9-9, 2 diamonds. Checks around to under the gun +2, who c-bets $30. This is a very wet board, plus it's paired, so I'd expect him to always bet here. I call it 30, and so does the small blind. Big blind and under the gun both fold. Three-way to a turn, which comes out the jack of clubs, and both players check to me. I now have top 2, and I beat king queen and ace queen that were beating me on the flop, but the player in the small blind is someone I've been playing against from when I first started playing in 1-3, and we both know each other's game pretty well. He's a pretty tight passive player, so for him to call the 30 flop bet out of position after a bet and a call seems very fishy, so I decided to check it back. River is the 6 of diamonds, completing the front door flush. Small blind leads for 80, and under the gun plus 2 folds. Action is now on me, and after the small blind just flats pre-flop, check calls the flop, checks the turn, and randomly decides to lead out on the river into 2 people, it's obvious he's value betting a hand that beats any 2 pair, so I fold queen jack face up. We're on the button for this one, and it folds around to me. I look down at 8-9 off, and the players in the blinds are pretty weak, so I decide to push my positional advantage against them and raise to 15. Small blind folds and big blind calls. He's a short stack with about 200 behind, and he keeps making terrible plays, and he's very, very easy to read. So we go heads up to a flop of king 8-5 rainbow. He checks, and I bet half pot with second pair, and he calls. We go to a turn, which is another king, and he pauses for a second and then grabs a handful of chips and starts counting them out, but then checks. He was trying to signify his strength to hopefully get me to be scared and check back, but now I'm just even more confident my 8 is good. Plus with the king pairing, it makes it a lot less likely he has one. So I just bet 15 again. I don't really need to construct the perfect sizing here against him, and he ends up folding.
Oh my god, your 6-7 got through.
Value bet.
Whatever, I don't care. You value bet me already.
We're in middle position here as we look down at Mr. Jiggs. There's an open to 25 and a call. I 3-bet to 85, expecting to get a call and then see an ace on the flop and then kill myself. But both players fold, and I live to see another day. There's a button straddle, and we're in the big blind with ace-10 offsuit, and I decided to just flat here. Under the gun opens to 21. 2 people call, and I call as well. Flop comes out 8-5-3 all clubs, and I'm sitting here with the ace of clubs. I check, and under the gun c-bets 25. Folds around to me, and I decide to call. Turn is a king of diamonds, and it goes check check. And river is a 10 of clubs, giving us the nuts. I have no clue where he's at, so I just click a button and bet $55, and he ends up folding jacks with no club face up.
No good, no good. Just a miss.
We're on the button for this one, and once again, this is a straddle heavy table, so I keep the streak going and I straddle as well. There's 4 callers, and I look down at ace-7 offsuit and check my option. 5-way to a flop of ace of clubs, queen of hearts, 6 of spades. Checks to the cutoff, who bets $10, and I just flat. Turns the ace of hearts, and he checks it to me. This is a slam dunk value bet, as this was a limped pot pre-flop, so I bet 35, and he calls. He took a decent amount of time to think before he checked and before he called my bet, so now I think he has a queen that doesn't believe me yet because I was on the button, and I straddled, and I didn't raise, plus there's 2 out there already. I also consider him having a weak ace here because I don't think a queen would lead on the flop into 4 other people. Plus he only bet a 3rd pot. River's a 4 diamonds and he checks it to me again. Now it's just a question of sizing. If he has a queen, he's just trying to get to showdown and will probably not call a reasonable bet. If he has an ace better than mine, I'd expect him to lead this river more often than not. So I think an overbet is a good candidate here to induce a hero call or charge all worse ace-x hands. There's 120 in the pot, and I land on a sizing of 150 here. He doesn't snap me off, so I'm pretty confident I have the best hand here. He starts to tank and shows me an ace, and I'm pretty surprised he hasn't called me yet. He thinks for a bit longer and ends up folding the best hand. He actually had ace-9 off, so I guess just clicking buttons pays off as we accidentally turned our value bet into a bluff.
I don't know, maybe a quick, not a good fold. I don't care. Don't care. I'm just weak, not like hero 4, you know. I'm just weak soft.
We then pick up Jack 10 of diamonds in the cutoff. Under the gun +2 opens to 13, folds to me, and with my favorite hand here, I 3-bet to 45. The button actually cold calls my 3-bet, and everyone else folds. He's an older Asian man with about $900 in front of him. We've gotten in 2 pots together already, so I have a little bit of info on him, but this is still such a weird spot. I wasn't expecting a cold call from anyone, and especially not the only person that has position on me. Anyways, we go heads up to a flop of king deuce deuce. I'm first to act, and with the king being a diamond, there's going to be a lot of turns that I'll pick up equity with and that I can barrel on. It's a paired board, and I 3-bet pre, so I c-bet a third pot of $30, and he calls. Turns a 6 of spades, and I didn't pick up any equity, so I can either give up here and check, or I can grow some fucking balls and double barrel. The few pots that we've been in together, I checked on turn, and he took the betting lead both times with very mediocre hands. So when I thought back to those hands, and the fact that he cold called my 3-bet on the button, I figured that he's noticed some patterns in my game that he's trying to exploit. So I decided to double barrel for $75 and not give him a chance to take the betting lead. He grabbed 75 right away, and I almost pissed myself, but then he starts to squirm and stare at the board. He tanks for a bit longer, and I'm just praying for a fold. He ends up letting it go, and we get away with a nice bluff here. Every dealer change, we play a $10 hold'em double board bomb pot, where everyone puts $10 in blind and 2 boards come out. I'm not too much of a fan of hold'em bomb pots because it's hard to get a ton of action with everyone only having 2 cards. I'm used to Omaha double board bomb pots, which if you've never played one of these, I can't even begin to describe the degeneracy within these hands. I've seen the sickest shit happen for tons of money. Just like the time where I turned quads and the guy rivered quads against me, but it's okay. I ended up winning the other board, so we chopped the $3,000 plus pot. Anyways, we have king 7 of spades for this one, and I flop a flush on the top board, so I bet 50, and all 8 other players fold.
Bingo!
We're under the gun +1 here, and we see queen jack offsuit. I open to 15, and only my buddy Brian calls me in middle position. We go heads up to a flop of 7 of diamonds, queen of clubs, 10 of clubs. I c-bet 35, and he jams for 105. I snap that shit off, and I say 1 time, but then he gives me puppy dog eyes and says twice, so I oblige. I show my hand, and he shows jack 8 of clubs for a gutter and a flush draw. First run out is queen of hearts, 3 of spades. We take that one. Second run out is 6 of hearts. One more card until we sack Brian, but the river is a 7 of clubs, and he hits his flush. We chop it up, and he gets another chance at life. A new dealer comes in again, which means it's bomb pot time. All 9 players throw $10 in, and we go to 2 boards. Top one is deuce 3-4 rainbow, and bottom one is king king 10 rainbow. We look down at pocket 10s here on the button, and we flop the full house. It checks the hijack, who leads for 75. Now, we have the bottom board locked up, so the best way to get max value when you have a lock on a board in double board bomb pots is allow for more people to draw. I don't have any draws on the top board, so I don't need to protect it. It's very connected, so I decided to allow people in so they hopefully clash on that board, and I can end up chopping people's stacks with whoever wins the top one. When it's multi-way, someone is guaranteed to lose money because you can only get chopped, quartered, or scooped. Now, this strategy only holds true in cases like this where I have a full house. Say I flopped a straight or a flush on one board. I would definitely raise here to price out people outdrawing me, but like I said, with a full house here in position, there's no reason to raise just yet. I call, small blind calls, and Brian jams all in for only $15 more. We of course all call the 15, and there will now be a side pot amongst us 3. The turn comes out a deuce of clubs on the top and a 6 of spades on the bottom. Small blind checks, and hijack bets 150. Now that the top board paired, and we're still multi-way now, it's the perfect time to raise. As I'm counting out my raise, my iPhone storage fills up and stops recording, and I didn't realize it yet. But I raised to $350, and the small blind check raises all in for $910. And then the hijack snap calls all in for $570 on top of the $150 she already bet. I looked down to make sure I was recording, and I see that my storage was full. My heart dropped, but thankfully I look up and the guy to my right was recording, and he was kind enough to share the footage with me. Now, I was never folding here in a Hold'em bomb pot, but I just know how hectic these get and how stressful it is for the dealer, so I let him count everything out and get all the side pots organized. I asked the dealer how much more it is, and he says $560. I make the call, and the hijack asks to see my hand, so I show the full house, and she shows 5-6 for the flopped nut straight on top. The small blind shows deuce 3 for a full house on top, and my buddy Brian shows ace 5 for the flopped wheel on top. Insanity. People from other tables are coming over to see the action, and there's a lot of commotion, but the dealer does a great job of getting the pots organized, and we go to a river. There's no possible way I can lose now, and both the straights are drawing dead. The only thing that can change on the river is a 10 hits the top board and I scoop the whole pot, which would be amazing, but it rolls off an 8 of hearts on top, and then if a flop full house wasn't enough, I hit fucking quads on the bottom. The small blind and I end up chalking everything, and we profit about $500 from this insane hand. We're now up about $800, and the energy at this table is still buzzing from that last hand as we look down at pocket queens and under the gun +1. I open at 20 and only the big blind calls. We go heads up to a flop of 10, 3, deuce, 2 diamonds. He checks and I see bet 20. He min raises me to 40. Obviously I'm not folding yet, and I just call. Turn is a king of hearts, and he goes check, check. River is a deuce of spades, and he bets 75. Like I said, I'm up $800. I have queens. I don't know. What do you have? I call, and he shows pocket tens for a full house. I guess what goes around comes around. We're in under the gun +1 again here, and under the gun opens to 15. We look down at 7-9 of clubs and call. 3 others call, and we go 5-way to a flop of 6 of clubs, 7 of hearts, deuce of spades. It checks to me, and I bet 45 here with top pair, backdoor flush, and backdoor straight. Under the gun +2 calls, and we go heads up to a turn, which is an ace of diamonds. This is the same older Asian man that I was saying likes to take the betting lead after I give up on the turn, so I check to see if he takes the bait, and he bites. He bets 50, and I just call. River is a 10 of hearts, and now I'm just in check call mode. I check, and he checks it back.
Okay, I win.
It's already 2 a.m. and I'm getting kind of tired as I look down at queen jack of diamonds in the cutoff. Under the gun +1 opens to 13, and middle position calls. Action's on me, and under the gun +1 is the player I was talking about in the queen jack hand earlier in the video. We've played against each other a lot, and he knows how aggressive I can get, so I keep the image going and I 3-bet to 45. He just flats and everyone else folds. Or heads up to a flop, and he checks in the dark. That comes out 4 of clubs, deuce of diamonds, jack of spades, and this is a beautiful spot for me here because now I have a pretty good read on him. He's pretty tight and passive, so when he raises an early position and defends against the 3-bet and then checks in the dark, he's basically screaming to me that he already has a made hand. I see that 45 here, and he calls, turns a 4 of spades, and he checks it again. I check it back. River is a 10 of diamonds, and he checks it for a 3rd time. Now it's just a question of sizing. I don't think he believes me, and there's only one high card out there, and there's a lot of hands in my range that completely miss this board, and he knows this, so I want to construct a sizing here that targets exactly non-believing pocket pairs. Pot's about $200, and anything less than half pot is probably going to get snapped off, but I'm pretty sure I can get a little bit more value out of him here given our history. So I bet 130, and he ends up finding the call. I show queen jack, and he nods his head and mugs. It's night time, so we rack up and we cash out for about $2,000, so that's going to be about $1,000 in profit. Well, Well, the session pretty much speaks for itself. I had a great time, obviously, but not just because I won money. It's really not about the money for me. Where I place my value and find a lot of fulfillment is playing to the best of my ability and getting creative with my game. This session, I was able to play around with different bet sizings and different spots because most of the table was deep stacked, which is something that y'all have not got to see in any of my videos yet. So from here on out, I'm going to be trying to go later at night and get into bigger games like this. Yeah, like I said, I had a great time. The table was fun to talk to, and I enjoyed the table dynamic. The guy to my right from the Ace King hand had me cracking up all night, so hopefully I get to play with him again. Also, big shout out to him for getting that quads hand on video. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get that. Yeah, this session was dedicated to my dad, so shout out to him also for the $1,000. Hopefully he keeps doing whatever he did for the next video, which I'll of course be trying to get out ASAP. If you liked what you saw, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Be easy.